Heidi ho! Welcome to the post-Christmas. Post is after, right?
It is. It is after Christmas, the post-Christmas live episode.
Dennis and Andy show. And I'm always going to introduce ourselves. I'm Andy.
And this is Dennis. Welcome back.
I see you're wearing our shirt.
I am.
I'm wearing a Christmas shirt.
Oh.
And
but it's not green nor red.
Nope. Well, I got it for Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I got it for Christmas. I am using a Christmas present, so hopefully it works well. This is our first time using the brand new HD 1080 DPI webcam.
It is. It looks like it's Nexico.
Nexico. Yes, it's a brand Nexico. Never heard
so
of
they
it.
must make it north of Mexico.
Ooh.
See what I did there?
I did. I wish I had a rim shot that I could sound effect. We need the sound effect for it.
I know. We're getting curious to see how this turns out. So I see that. That's brand new. And what do you got on your hat?
On my head?
On your head.
I have a hat.
Yeah.
It's a Budweiser hat. If everybody can see, there's a quick story I'll tell you behind this hat. Look, it looks like the top of a beer can. Quick story behind the hat. This hat I got when I was 16 years old, so about 10 years ago. Right?
Yep.
Yep. About 10 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And my buddy Alan and I were driving up to Frostburg, Maryland, where he grew up. And we stopped in a convenience store. And back then they had those claw machines.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
The original claw.
This goes back to like 1985. And I saw the hat. And I was like, I want it. And it was only $1. So I shoved $1 in, did the claw thing. And about $10 later, I got the hat.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that
I don't give up.
With the time change in money, it was probably now a $30 hat.
Yeah,
or a $40 hat.
God, that's why I still keep it. So welcome. I hope everybody had a great Christmas. I know I did. Did you have a nice Christmas?
We had a wonderful Christmas.
Wonderful.
Absolutely wonderful Christmas. It was very fun. I got the Mandalorian hot toy, and he looks wonderful.
Oh, he's like 12 inches, right? Big.
He's a 6 scale.
So that's 12 inches.
Yeah,
roughly.
Yeah,
6 feet tall.
He's sitting right next to my John Wick. So yeah, they look pretty good together. So yeah, pretty happy with that. And Susie got one of those animatronic, baby Yodas that makes all the noise and coos and closes his eyes. Yeah, kind of fun.
So now that she sleeps with that in bed, where do you sleep?
Yeah, I'm on the floor next to the treadmill. Yeah.
And now you tap the bed every now and then going, would you shut that damn thing up? I'm trying to get a good night's sleep.
And you hear,
using the force and stuff.
So Christmas, all good?
Yeah, Christmas was good. Obviously, we were here. I got some books that I might spotlight later, but I got a few hardback books, that is, art books. I got the Marvel art of Adam Hubert. Love Adam's work. Yeah. Friends with the big guy. So I got that book. I got Marvelocity, which is the Alex Ross book of all his Marvel stuff.
Yep.
So I got that. And I got the Shazam trade paperback that collects the latest Shazam series that was 15 issues.
Yep, that's good. That's a good, fun one.
I love Shazam. And then I got black and white hardcover of Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The crossover.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they released the black and white version because the artist did gray tones and stuff. So yeah, I might do a podcast on my stream later where I do an extensive flip through of all those books and stuff. First and foremost, though, you're like, what's that at the bottom of the screen? Please back First Man on Indiegogo with a link. Yes, please. I would love it if everybody would go and back my campaign. Here it is. Do a little split screen for you. First Man, Marvel Comics by Marvel Comics. That's me. I've worked for Marvel and DC Comics. First Man, if you like Silver Age fun comics, superhero stuff, you're going to love this book. You've got the book itself, which is 64 pages, square bound. You've got a program book, which is like a behind the scenes making of. Here's a cover for the main book. So, back Indie Comics. Indie Comics is it's awesome stuff. Indie Comics started way back in the day. Well, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that was an indie comic.
Yep.
So, show some Indie Comics love. I would appreciate it. First Man is a superhero I created as a kid, so I would love to be able to get this campaign funded, and I'm almost there. I'm 84% of the way there, so 16% more, and this bad boy's funded. And
Plus, you get to see what happens at the end of your story for those of you who picked up the first issue.
That's right. You get to see what happens. I do my throwback classic Hostess ad. I've got a Bart Sears variant cover. Bart and I are really good friends, so he did a variant cover. The program book has shots of First Man from different artists and whatnot. Let's do a full screen on this. You don't need to see me while I'm pimping. There's levels where I can do a head sketch or a figure sketch inside the book. So give it some support. I would really appreciate it. Look at this. We've got a nice comment right here. Michael says, nice. It is nice, Michael. Give it a back. Give it a back, buddy. So that's that. So we're going to roll on with.
Well, what happened? What did we tease last time? What was this week? For our fantasy football, it was the Super Bowl.
It was the Super Bowl for our fantasy football, and I wasn't in contention because, there were 4 teams, 2 teams for Super Bowl, 2 teams to figure out who's coming in third place. So let's take a look over here and see what shook down. I noticed you're not anywhere in this, Dennis.
No, I haven't been the entire season. So, right. Yeah. So it was, for the championship, it was Susie versus Matt. And wow.
Susie
is Sushi's Awesomos.
And that is who?
That's my wife.
That's your wife.
Yeah, baby. Turners are on top. Woo!
Look at that
Each
score.
one of us. 139 to 51.
I mean,
Matt's team decided not even to show up. It kind of feels like my entire season.
Seriously. I mean, because if you look below, those are for the projected points. And projected was 122, 114.
Right. It was a close projection.
Right. And with points with a close projection like that, if anybody on your wife's team didn't show, it could have easily went the other way. But I mean, what the hell happened?
That was a blowout.
Did he look at his lineup before?
Oh, no. No, obviously he did, because he was projected to get 114.
Yeah.
It should have been a really close game, but none of his guys decided to show up for the Super Bowl. Susie trounced him.
Now let's talk about this third place outing.
I know it was you versus my brother and Scott. So you were projected to lose 100 to 117. But that's not how it turned up.
No.
And this is why we play the game.
My team showed up strong. And the funny thing is, at the end of before Monday night's game, it was 153 to, I believe, 111, I think.
Yeah, something like
that. And I was like,
close.
I got this in the bag, because his last player that played Monday night was only projected to win or to get 11 points.
Right.
So his last player stepped up huge.
Yes, and he made it a game where you had to be sweating bullets.
I was like, are you effing kidding me? This dude's projected to get 11 points. And he's what? I don't even feel like doing the math right now.
153 to 149. So
right. So
he
his
only
dude
won by 4 points.
4 points. But you know what? I don't know your brother, but you can tell him to suck it, because I beat him by 4 points and I'm third place. And if you look at where I was originally, I was 8th place. There's only 10 teams in our league. The last 2 don't even make the playoffs. So I was in the very last seed, and I stepped up and moved all the way into third place in the final.
Nice.
Booyah, baby. Booyah is all I got to say to that.
Well, Matt just chimed in. He goes, I'm watching the podcast. I think Susie cheated.
Wait, who's Matt?
Matt. It's who she played.
Oh.
Matt, you came in second.
I agree with you, Matt. I think this whole season something's been up with Susie. I got to be honest. Yay, Susie. You know what, Michael? Shut it.
Hey, I look at it this way. A Turner won the Super Bowl. A Turner came in last. We're like an Oreo cookie. We're the black cookie part of the Oreo, and all the rest of you are the filling.
I've always been told I'm the cream
of the crop.
But Are you seriously 10th place? Were you 10th place?
Oh yeah,
You were.
I haven't
Okay,
been.
so you
I've
weren't
never
ninth.
left 10th place. I think since like week 2.
All right, let's move on to
Our regular football.
our regular football. So last weekend, my boys stepped up hard and crushed the Eagles. Crushed them so hard that they're not even contention for the playoffs anymore. Now, the NFC East is so pathetic that there's still a chance. As of right now, the Washington football team is the NFC East leader, so they're in 4th place.
Yeah.
But if they lose and Dallas wins, Dallas takes that spot.
Yep.
If they lose, Dallas loses, and the Giants win, Giants take that spot.
Oh my God! There's still playoff.
There's still
75%
hopes.
of your division.
Exactly. Now here's the fun part. If the Cowboys manage to win against the Giants, so I don't have hopes, even though the Giants suck too. They usually choke it. So if the Cowboys manage to win against the Giants and Washington loses, Cowboys are playoffs. Do you know who they play the first week in the playoffs?
Well, I would hope it would be the first seeded Green Bay Packers. Oh wait, that would be the second week.
No, they play the Bucks.
That would be.
And the Bucks are my daughter's favorite football team. And I told her to begin the season, she goes, well, then we'll play the Cowboys. I said, not unless they go to the playoffs. And I never even thought that happened. Well, it looks like
there's a chance
that could actually happen, and I'm going to have to play. I'm going to have to root for the Cowboys against my daughter. Let's see, Michael. Do the 2 last place teams play a game to see who gets the first pick? No, they don't. It's not how our league works.
No, we're in the NFL. What of
Suck
course,
it,
the Jets keep trying to win anyway, and getting around that. And by the way, it says, let's go Giants.
Yeah, I ignored that one. I'll show it. Let's go Giants, please. Suck it, Andrew. Okay, one, you can call me Andy. No formalities here. Okay, so that's my team. Let's see where Dennis is going.
Let's see how the other one.
Whoa, look at that butt.
We thought it was going to be a close game, and it really wasn't in any way, shape, or form. Devontae Adams just stepped up a huge again, and besides the 3 touchdowns, there were a lot. Look at that, 11 receptions, 142 yards. Seriously, best wide receiver, at least in the NFC.
That was a snowy game, though. The Titans just aren't used to that. So that was probably why.
Which explains why he threw 3 touchdown passes, 142 yards to 1 wide receiver.
No, I'm saying the Titans aren't used to the snow. That's why they lost.
But you're throwing stuff of snow. It should be a running game, which, of course, they did fine on the run. So the Packers are in, first place. They're 12-3. Let's just take a look at the playoff picture a little bit, just see where we're at. In the AFC.
All right, so AFC, top 4, we got KC, Buffalo. I mean, if this doesn't tell you 2020, I don't know what else does. The Buffalo Bills are 12-3, 2nd seed in the playoffs as of now. That, like I said, if that doesn't tell you something about
I'm almost getting a tear in my eye right now because I'm thinking of Thurman Thomas and Jim Kelly back in the great where they did like 4 in a row. I mean, this is what these Bills were. Yeah, but they're there. That's kind of the memory it's bringing back.
So, I'm rooting for the Bills. This weekend coming up, I want the Bills to win. Even if the Steelers win, the Bills will still be second. If the Bills lose and the Steelers win, they flip-flop. So that will kind of stink. And then wild card, let's see what we got going on here. We got Miami, which makes my daughter happy. I'm very happy Cleveland is still there. I hope they make the wild card just to see him make the playoffs.
Fun time. Busty's got to be all excited. His Dolphins are in it. The Ravens, Cleveland. I mean, they're kind of a Cinderella underdog story. You just got to have one.
That's why I want. I don't know this week if they can be bounced out if they lose. So I really hope they win. Anyhow, let's go.
Let's go check out the NFC.
NFC. Dun, 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 dun. So once again, the Packers are on top. If they were to lose to the Bears, they'd be 12-4, and then if the Saints win and go 12-4, looks like Green Bay's playing a wild card game.
No,
What do you
because
mean? Look, 5-0. They're only 4-1. Wouldn't that flip it?
no, because you go head to head, and we beat the Saints head to head.
Oh, you did? So no matter what, you're
Correct.
number one?
Correct.
Damn
Now
it.
the question, right, and then it goes down to Seattle.
Right. If Seattle wins and New Orleans wins.
Right. So it goes head to head, and we didn't play, and then it would go into your division, your conference. So yeah, there's not a lot there. Still the Packers always want to beat the Bears, so hopefully that will just.
Well, no, but what I'm
happen.
saying is, if the Packers win, they stay there. If the Saints and the Seahawks both win, I think the Saints are still number 2.
Yeah, well, yeah. Then it goes down to the tiebreaker between them, and I don't know if they played head to head.
Yeah, I can't.
That's
remember
what we'd have
either.
to find out.
I want to say they did,
but we already covered Washington, because right now Washington is from your division, and then the way it would be right now would be,
Washington wins, they're in. That's all
Yep.
it takes. A
Yep.
win and in.
Yep,
And they're
exactly.
playing Eagles. So go Eagles. Go Eagles. Something I never thought I'd say, but go Eagles. And then we got the Bucks, who even if they lose, they'll still be in that position at 10-6. Well, I take it back. If the Rams win if the Rams win and the Bucks lose, they could flip flop. I can't remember their head to head though if they play.
Yeah, it all boils down to
who
head to
cares?
head. Well, we will know next week, because we'll get to find out the final playoffs for our teams when they go in. So with football being done,
Oh wait, Ted says throwing touchdowns from a California guy. Is he talking about Rogers?
well, yeah.
Rogers is California. That's where he's from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who wouldn't want to move from California to go up to the crisp Wisconsin frozen tundra?
Hey, Tom Brady said he'll never go back north. So
Well, when you make that much money, you don't have to. So
That's true.
I think you're good. So what did we do this week? We went to the comic book shop. We had to
course.
see what's going to be coming out. So we got
What
a
did the
few
boys
picks
get?
from what did the boys get
all right,
this week.
let's see what the boys got this week. Next slide, please. Well, of course, Dennis got X-Men.
Yeah, we know it. X-Men, yay, keep going.
I mean, I'll
All
say,
excited.
this is a beautiful cover. I love Leinil Francis Yu's work. He's a sweetheart of a guy. I've got to meet him a few times. I love his work. This is a great cover. I did not pick up X-Men this week, though. He did not draw the inside. My buddy Phil Noto drew the inside, but, I like Phil's work on certain things.
I'm liking where X-Men is going. It's been a fun story, everything dealing with Krakoa. I'm going to continue. I will always pick it up. So, yeah.
I'll borrow yours so I don't.
Yeah, you
miss
can.
this year.
Anytime.
So
Anytime.
I'll just borrow yours.
And
Next
then-
up, these are two Dennis picks.
Yep. Avengers Enter the Phoenix. Everybody knows I'm a huge Phoenix fan. All excited to see what's going on with the Phoenix. So looking good.
I'm torn with this one because I did see the variant cover, the design cover, and I believe it's the design variant of Captain America in the Phoenix costume.
Yeah.
And I do like those designs. So I did not get it, though. It could be a trade.
But if you look at the shield that he's carrying, notice the symbol.
I know. That's what I'm talking about.
I know. I'm
It
liking
might
that.
be the story arc I get as a trade. And then, of course, Star Trek. We all know you're getting Star
Hey,
Trek.
and that's Gary Seven. A nod and a wink back to stories from the 1960s. So
Yeah, 'cause year
looking
5.
forward to reading it. So it's their 5-year mission. So the
Right.
season,
The season
the
of
series
television-
ended after 3 years. So you
Right.
got,
So they did year 4.
and then 5.
Oh,
Yep.
so year 5.
The
Did year
5.
5? I know year 5 is the 5th year.
Well, then
I
what
can
are
do
you
math.
asking?
What I'm asking is, this is issue 17. Was issue 1 Star Trek year 5?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah,
So how many issues does it go?
I don't know. It's an
So how many
ongoing.
did 4 go?
It's an ongoing.
So Star Trek
As
year
long
4 is
as
still
people
coming
buy
out?
it, no. As
Okay,
long-
that's my
I
question.
don't know.
When did Star? Oh God.
If year 5, it'll just keep going until
Whatever.
people stop buying it.
Okay, so
And here's our fun one.
here's our so I got Wolverine 350. Dennis got Wolverine 350. But the special book, and that's cool because Maverick, baby, Maverick.
We've been hunting. Andy has been on the hunt for months for the old Maverick #1. Everywhere we go, every convention, we all look for Maverick #1 from
Maverick.
It's not an expensive book. It's just one that he needed to fill out his
covered
collection.
by my boy Adam. I can't tell the signature. Oh, it is. Adam drew the cover. That's what I thought. Yeah, it's not an expensive book. My buddy Jimmy Chung drew it. I like to go back and get first issues of stuff my friends have drawn. So I'm still looking for Maverick #1. We might be doing a road trip coming up to some shops in South Carolina this weekend, and if we do, that's where I'm looking to find it.
But he shows up on the cover, which means it's a sign.
It's a sign of good things.
It is.
Wolverine's poking him. That's not cool.
No, he deserves it. He's Maverick.
But the cool book.
This is the cool book.
Solid Blood. It says issue 17. Now, if you don't know what Solid Blood is, there are no issues 1 through 16. As far as I know, there's not going to be an 18. It was a book that came out, actually not this week. I think it came out not the week before, not the Wednesday before Christmas, but the week before that. Solid Blood #1 came out, or 17, and it just showed up. And basically, it's this book, this retro book Robert Kirkman wrote, and his artist buddy, Ryan Otley, who's a great artist. I bought Invincible. They did Invincible together, drew. And it's just this, you pick it up. It's a 20-page story with 4 pages of like letters pages and a double-page spread of things to come, and that's it. What I love is it's printed on newsprint. Newsprint.
Yep. Classic.
It still has modern-day coloring, but it looks great on newsprint. And to me, it really shows that newsprint can still work. And it's just Michonne's in it.
Yep.
Other than that, it's all new characters from what I can tell. But it has that fun. Look at that logo, Solid Blood. It's got like that young blood feel logo.
That is exactly. As soon as you saw it, you went, "Oh, it's a young blood callback."
It's a callback to the early days of Image. That's how the story feels. I love it. I got to be honest. I wish there was going to be more issues of this book. It is going to set you back a penny though, because the store could sell for $3.99, but the way it came out was Robert Kirkman's doing a book now called Firepower. Is that it? Firepower? I think it's called Firepower.
I'm not picking it up.
Well, is that the title?
I don't know. I'm not reading it, so I don't know.
Look, Dennis, this is a computer.
Nope.
It's a magic device.
It's not a clapper. It doesn't work.
Just look it up while I'm talking. I believe it's called Firepower, written by Robert Kirkman, drawn by Chris Samney. So the store, the amount of copies that were delivered to your comic shop, if you buy Firepower, are based on how many issues of Firepower #4 you bought. Firepower. Yeah. So if you bought 10 copies of Firepower #4, you got 10 copies of Solid Blood. If you bought 50 copies, you got 50, so on and so forth. On eBay, this book goes anywhere from $15 at the cheapest I've seen it, all the way up to $25, $30. A couple stores in my town, one store is doing a raffle. So if you if you pay $1, you get a raffle ticket. Boom, you get the book, or you get into a drawing for the book. So if you win, it only costs you $1. Another store in town is selling it for $15. That's where we picked it up. Like I said, I love it. I actually think it's worth $15.
It really was. I don't say that very often about a weird book like that, but it just kind of was worth it. It was a unique promotion, which is what I like. Yeah. Instead of just soliciting and say, "Oh, here's another one," they did something fun, off the cuff, unexpected, and it was cool enough where I almost hope it becomes a regular series. Don't know if it will. But what I did like was it kind of reminds me of the Century. They started off on issue 17, and well, that's what it is. 17. No. What I'm saying is, the Century was retconned in where the story where they made him sound like he's been in the Marvel universe for decades. He's done all of this.
You remember Wizard Magazine?
Oh yeah.
He even did a story on it.
Yes.
Yeah, they showed. I love this with the Century tangent. Wizard Magazine. See if you can Google Wizard Magazine Century and see what comes up real fast, because I'd like to show this. Wizard Magazine did a fake piece on the Century and how he's been around so long and everything. And they showed the design art of what the Century looked like when he was originally designed, and it's like they just found this piece of art, and it's hysterical. I'm looking at Dennis's screen to see. Yeah, they're not showing
it's
it.
not.
No. Anyhow, it was drawn by John Romita Sr., the character design. And if you're an artist and you know John Romita Sr. work, you just looked at it and was like, that's not some unknown artist. That's John Romita Sr. Anyhow, so Marvel did that. Then they finally said, no, we just made him up.
It was cool, and that's kind of reminds me. They started with issue 17, which we're just starting in the middle of a run. Oh, so can I go back and pick up verse 16? Nope, doesn't exist.
Moving on, one thing that just dropped on our radar this morning that we did want to talk about, we didn't prepare for it, but Dennis came over and I said, dude, we got to talk about this. And it looks like Marvel is giving Spider-Man a new costume.
Yeah,
Now,
they are.
A few things for me. I don't know who designed it, so I'll go out and say I don't know who designed it. But I'll also say this. As a costume design, aesthetically speaking, I don't mind it. As a design. Right? But I don't. I actually don't mind it as a design. Now, as a Spider-Man, I'm not keen on a redesign of Spider-Man because Spider-Man is basically Marvel's Superman. Like, when I think Spider-Man, I think Marvel, right? And when I think DC, I actually think three characters: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, the Trinity.
The Trinity. But with Marvel, I think Spider-Man.
Yes.
And then secondly, I'd say X-Men.
But this isn't unprecedented. I mean, obviously with this black costume, which later becomes Venom, when that whole history, the black costume, but the black costume looked really cool.
The black costume was just, when that was introduced in Secret Wars #8, it was so stark. It was just black and white. Big Spider-Man logo.
Yeah.
White. The face mask was the same with the same shape eyes. And you were like, okay. But they also worked it into the story where it was this symbiote thing. You knew it wasn't going to be around long. The way they worked that into the story was it was this goopy stuff that came over him.
Yes.
And you knew he wasn't going to wear it for a long time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like with this, I'm assuming a couple things. I'm assuming it's a marketing play. So when issue 63 comes out, it's going to be limit 1 per customer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, probably.
I'm assuming, and now because of this, I don't think it's actually going to be a hot book. Like like Ronin, that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book that came out, that the next day on eBay was
yeah.
I don't think we're going to see that.
I don't know. So you notice it says Stark and up on his web. And I'm wondering if this isn't going to be just a Stark Tech design that they, designed this for him. My initial thing when I looked at it was I was like,
I don't understand the eyes.
I don't either. There's got to be a reason they look like there's some kind of electronic eye, so he might have some visual enhancements. And again, if it is Stark Tech, it's going to be very reminiscent of what Iron Man maybe had. I do not love the design at all. I'll be curious to see. I'll probably go pick it up just because it piques my curiosity.
It piques mine too.
It doesn't make me want to rush out and buy it just because. But now I'm going to be curious with what they're doing in it. But I guess I don't like it.
One thing, if all the white parts of his costume, so his legs, his gloves, his center part, all white parts, if those were red.
Right.
Even with this electric looking stuff going here, I'd be like, and keeping that gold too, right? Yeah. Keeping all the stuff gold, just changing the white to red. I'd probably be like, that's pretty cool because from an artist standpoint, drawing all that webbing is time consuming.
Yes. And again, I like the red and the blue. And I says, and we're basing all of this on this, just this one picture.
Just this,
so, and it could be different from what was released. So, we'll get to see. We'll be curious, but I guess we just kind of wanted everybody to see. This just took us for a bit of a loop this morning.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is if once again, Spider-Man, you think Marvel Comics, but if you show this to a lot of people, go, who's this? Without the logo and stuff, I think they would go Spider-Man fanfic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Fan
do.
fiction.
Yeah. Well,
and once again,
we'll find out.
I've designed characters, not a ton, but I have had to make up costumes and stuff. I haven't had to redesign iconic characters like this in my career. I made up an Iron Man armor once, for instance, for an Iron Man story I did. But it was still classic yellow and gold when it was colored, or yellow and gold, red and gold when it was colored. So this is by no means a knock against the artist, because look, if I'm working for Marvel and they're like, hey, we want you to redesign Spider-Man, of course I'm going to be like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a part of me might be like, a part of me might do a few sketches and be like, well, that one's actually really cool. I have to keep that for myself in case I do it independent. You know what I mean? So anyhow, let us know what you guys think of this new Spider-Man design. Love to hear your thoughts.
Got a couple of texts already just saying not a fan of the new design. So
really?
Yep. So we'll find out. We'll see when it comes out, and we'll probably pick it up and give it a review at the time. So
what else happened over Christmas?
The big news at Christmas.
What was it?
Well, Wonder Woman 84 came out, 1984, and we knew we had to go see it. Had some pretty high expectations for this because we're like, yeah, 2020 needed something to end the entire year right, and we're thinking maybe Wonder Woman is what's going to do it. So after watching it, the question became, as it was in our title, is a movie a hot mess, or is there some evil
misunderstood genius? So when I give a critique, I'm gonna do it this way. When I give a critique of an artist's portfolio at a convention, when they want you to look at their work, I always use the sandwich method. And the sandwich method is start with the compliment, do some bad stuff, negative stuff, end on a compliment. And we'll start with the compliment.
Yeah.
Gal Gadot. Is it Gadot or Godot?
Which is interesting. I had always said Godot, but I've seen a couple of interviews now, and everybody's saying Gadot. So I guess I kind of have to go with the flow.
Gal Gadot is hot. She looks great as Wonder Woman. She looks great as Diana Prince. She looks great in armor. She is fantastic. She's beautiful to look at. Do you have a compliment you'd like to start with?
Well, not only that, I would say I would agree with that. And Kristen Wiig looked very well. I thought they made her look. She looked really good during it. Yes, basically she reminded me of the character from Bridesmaids, but she looked way better. Right. Yes.
Yeah, well, because, look, I've read some stuff online. I mean, Kristen Wiig during the whole filming was working out and stuff. I mean, yes. you've got to.
Yes.
So moving on, let's talk about it. It opens up with them all. It opens up pretty typically, and not this isn't a knock. It opens up with, let's introduce the character.
Right. And what's the character doing? Because we last saw her in 1918, World War I, and which was great. My wife and I watched the movie. We watched the original Wonder Woman right before 1984, and that first Wonder Woman movie is a period piece, World War I, and it was just fantastically done. We just love that movie. And so, but that's the last time you actually see her.
Right.
Fast forward to 1984. Well, you wonder what she's doing. How has she been coping? Has she been hidden? Has she become like Superman where everybody sees her? And it opens up in a 1980s mall, and she's stopping some would-be thieves.
Some thugs.
Yes.
We'll call them thugs. Some hooligans.
With a really weird that the store has a back room that they're putting stuff through and they're moving it. You're like, all right.
Well, it's basically smuggling, right?
Right.
Smuggling operation.
It was an interesting little plot, but she goes in there and it was very 80s campy.
It was.
And it was. And I thought it was cute. He rescued the little girl and she kind of tossed her, slid her across into the big teddy bear, and the girl's like, yay.
But with this scene, she's looking at the girl and she's like, shh. And it's like, shh, what? Don't tell anybody I just did this, because lady, you're standing in a mall and everybody's
swinging with her lasso.
You're flipping around like Spider-Man, honestly. I mean,
yes.
the lasso apparently has gained a new power, which is it can lengthen at will.
Yes.
And she's just flipping that thing around.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. Which I don't have a problem with her being so good with the lasso. I mean, look, that's fine. That's
right.
I don't expect
lassos are cool.
I don't expect her to only be doing Indiana Jones level stuff. I expect some cool stuff, but
Yes.
I never knew the lasso could extend. So there's that. And then, you know, like Dennis said, we introduced Kristen Wiig. She's, you know, she's supposed to be the geek.
Yeah,
she's a nurse.
She's a very timid a lady who doesn't appear to have a lot of self-confidence and isn't very good with men.
You know what she reminded me of? Right. Michelle Pfeiffer, Catwoman.
Yes, very. She is today's Catwoman. All she got put in the movie.
All she had to do was go home and have a bunch of cats come out to greet her, because I mean she does play the cheetah.
Wow, that really,
so like
that's kind of funny, because which is better than Halle Berry's Catwoman. I'm just going to go there. So
right.
Yes, because that was
well, the difference.
We'll talk about that later.
The difference with Halle Berry's Catwoman movie that got totally panned and she got a Razzie for is, I think all they needed to make Halle Berry's Catwoman a success was a female director. Like if the director of Catwoman was a woman and the movie was the exact same thing we saw, that thing would have been put up for Academy Awards.
Yeah, well,
like if it wasn't Patty Jenkins directing Wonder Woman 84 and it was Patrick Jenkins, the headlines all over the place would probably be a wee bit different.
Well, that tells me that I think we're already leaning towards a hot mess. And as this movie continued, so my wife and I said, we just finished watching the first Wonder Woman. We get introduced to her invisible jet, and it was kind of interesting.
I don't want to skip over this.
Okay.
We skipped the slide. Now this Chris Pine was awesome. I'll say this, going back, you know, when you give a critique, for everybody who wants to know, you start good, negative, good, and good. So I thought the performances throughout were like, I thought Gal Gadot was fine.
Yes.
Chris Pine was fine. Kristen Wiig,
I had no problem with anybody's performance.
Kristen was fine. I'm not even going with the last name anymore.
Pedro Pascal.
Pedro was a little hammed up, but
he played what he was written.
Exactly. When it comes to movies and critiquing an actor's performance, I always look at it from the standpoint of how many other things I've seen the actor in, and then I can go, no, they're good actors because you've seen them in so many different things. So when you see them in something, I can't look at that as their whole acting career. So I look at it from the standpoint of he was directed to really ham it up.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was great. Chris Pine, once again, he's great. He throws down humorous bits. I got to be honest, I never had that shirt, but I did wear parachute pants in high school.
And it was a really good, cute quip as he's trying on all these different clothes. This movie had charm at times.
Right.
And it usually revolved around, you know, Chris Pine because, you know, he died in 1918, and all of a sudden he's just brought back. And here's the issue: he didn't come back as Steve Trevor.
This is the negative again, just to warn you.
And after this, you know, all of a sudden this guy walks up to her, this handsome guy, and starts, you know, trying to talk to her. And she goes, "I don't know you. Get away from me." And then he gives the catchphrase from the first movie, and she goes, "What? That can't be," because she had made a wish for him to come back.
Right.
Now, why wouldn't they have just wished?
Why would he
come
just
back
poof
and just poofed out of thin air? And Chris Pine is in front of us.
Instead, he inhabits this poor dude whose life is basically blinked out of existence, except for he still look, because they do a thing where they show Chris Pine looking in a mirror, so you get that everybody looking at this guy will see the old person and not Chris Pine. So only Diana sees Chris Pine. But the thing is, if this dude's walking down the street, what if he walked into a buddy and his buddy's like, "Whoa, she's above your pay grade. How'd you hook up with this fine-looking piece, you know, Diana?" Yeah. So there's that. But then it's also like, does this dude not have a mom and dad, brothers and sisters, friends, job, all this? It's just gone.
Right.
And Diana, to me, it's like,
But
she's not a stupid person. So you would think after the initial shock wore off, after maybe about 10 minutes, maybe even after an hour, she'd be like, wait a second, you can't be here. I've got to renounce or something. I've got to find a way to get you out of here, no matter how much I love you, because you literally erased some dude out of existence, and that is not cool.
And they don't. My issue is they don't address it at all in the entire movie.
And she sleeps with the guy.
I know.
It's like modern day roofies. I mean, could you imagine if this was basically Superman wishing Lois Lane back, and she comes back, and then he sleeps with this not Lois Lane to everybody else person?
Yeah.
I think that would cause a huge crap storm.
No, this made absolutely no sense.
So that, as soon as that happened, I was like, that's not very heroic.
And it wasn't well thought out.
That's very selfish.
And again, it was written by Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns, and there was so much of this movie that you just sat there and went, you didn't address this, you didn't address this, you didn't talk about this made no sense. When we talked about it being a hot mess, there was so much about this movie that was a literal hot mess that was on it.
For instance,
the invisible jet.
Hey, Dennis, I got a question for you.
Oh, I can't wait.
Let's just say you died in 1918.
Yep.
And I brought you back to life. And I said, hey, man, you're back. There's these things called comic book stores. Let's go. You're driving. You got in the front seat of my car.
Yeah.
Could you drive? Could you know how to do everything?
First, I would ask you to go out and crank the car.
Right. You'd be like, you'd look in front of the car and be like,
exactly.
Where's the crank?
So she takes him because she's going to have him fly it in this jet.
Well, they have to go to Egypt.
Right. Because they have to hook up with Maxwell Lord, which is Pedro Pascal's, who's the quote unquote villain, which he isn't much of a villain either. And they got to fly there. So she takes him to the Smithsonian, one of their air and space museums. I didn't know if it was the one in Virginia or the other one. And they happen to have a jet lined up that's fully fueled and ready to go. And that's what they take off. And now we didn't get to see the exterior because I really wanted to find out what jet it was. Because as this picture shows, they're sitting side by side in the jet as they take off. And in order for them not to get shot down, she's been able to turn a cup invisible because she's learned how to do this.
Now, this is an aspect I like. On Themyscira, to keep it invisible from the outside world, she was taught how to, they basically use this invisibility magic. And she was taught how to do it. And one of the cute things was, he's like, well, what have you done this on before? She's like, oh, just a coffee cup. So I thought that was cute. And she does this thing with her hands, and the jet turns invisible. But my issue is, now I'm not Dennis, you might not know this about me. I don't fly jets for a living.
Really?
I'm not an Air Force pilot.
But you stayed at a Holiday Inn Express, so you still know how to fly.
What? I don't even get that reference.
The Holiday Inn Express references? Okay, we'll have to skip that. It's an entire series of commercials.
Yeah, we'll skip that. Right over my head, like a jet.
It did.
But my point is this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just because an object is invisible to the naked eye in the air, that doesn't mean it's invisible to radar. Because radar bounces off things, object. Like it's like sonar. If I dump a submarine in the ocean and then turn it invisible, sonar is still going to ping off it because it's a mass, right?
Right. Well, there's two types of invisibility: invisibility to the naked eye, which is the bending of light, and then invisibility to radar, which is what your current stealth fighters and stuff are.
Right.
And that's because they're mutually exclusive. Right.
Well, yeah, because
it's got to be able to reflect. So it's radar absorbing material, and then the small profile, the thin profiles of the jets and stuff. So it's cute. It didn't make a lot of sense. It was cute. They fly into the fireworks on the 4th of July.
And no fireworks are bouncing off the thing either.
Exactly.
Man, that is good flying.
Again, it made no sense. We were happy to see that there was the invisible jet.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting there going, man, you guys are harsh. My daughter's 17. She loves every superhero movie she's seen. Multiple times, she's like, I'm bored. How much time's left? And my wife, who isn't a big superhero fan, but has enjoyed every Marvel movie she's seen, she hasn't seen them all, but she's seen probably 80% of them. She's like, even though the Marvel movies aren't my cup of tea, I've enjoyed them all. Even with this, she was like, I'm bored. How much time's left? So my question is, people generally walk out of theaters, but if you saw this on HBO Max, did you get up and walk out of your house halfway through?
Yeah, I'm one of those guys that are always a glut for punishment. So I will stick a movie out to the end, except for once. My wife and I got up and walked out of Highlander 2 in the theater. It was so bad, right? And there should have been, because it was such a bad movie. And it was seriously the worst movie I have ever seen. Worse than Green Lantern.
Shut it.
Worse than
worse than
Catwoman.
Oh,
yeah, yes, even worse than Halle Berry's Catwoman. But anyway, this one not as bad.
So now we're getting to the point where her and Cheetah are going to face off for the first time. Not Cheetah, but Kristen Wiig. So Kristen's wish was basically to be Diana.
Yes, I want to be like her.
I want to be like her. So that, which I'm glad that was explained, because in the trailer, and obviously in the trailer, I don't expect everything explained, but in the trailer, I was like, what's the deal with the strength and stuff? And that's why. She basically wanted to be like Diana, so she got the strength, the agility, she got like everything. Whereas Diana, when you make a wish, you lose a part of something. So when Diana made the wish for Steve to come back, she started losing some of her invulnerability and stuff like that. So this was a nice fight scene because they were basically evenly matched. So it was her fighting herself.
Yep. Michael goes, Holiday Inn Express jokes. Good one, Dennis. And worse than Toxic Avenger 47. Oh, that is bad. Yes. Or 4, not 47.
There was a Toxic Avenger 4.
No, there wasn't. What? There was. What was the miniseries? Yeah.
There was?
Yeah. There was a whole run of them. Yeah, the movie was good. I did like the Toxic Avenger movie, but not so much the comics.
So let's see. Invisible Plane, they go to Egypt. They fly back to Egypt. Apparently, it's all in one tank of gas in this jet. I'll be honest, I don't even know if modern day, maybe any jet aficionados out there, or pilots, if you're watching, chime in. Can a modern day jet full of fuel going full speed fly from Washington, D.C. to Egypt, which is like 6,000 miles rounded up?
Right, and we're not talking airliners. I mean, an airliner.
No, we're talking an F-16.
Right, we're talking
modern
fighter jets. And again, I know my jets, but I didn't see the outside of the jet as it was taking off long enough to figure out what kind of plane it was, because they were sitting side by side. And usually you've got your pilot in the front and your Rio, and they're behind you, and that's the way most of your two fighter jets are. So this has me a little confused. So if anybody knows what jet they were actually flying, please leave a post, because I couldn't tell from what I saw.
We Googled it, and all you come up with is the fact that it was turned invisible. It's never the type of jet. So yeah, I mean, I can't imagine.
It had to be a throwback because it was in the Smithsonian, but it was a good fighter.
Right.
But this was based in 1984.
Yeah, but it might not be. That's my point is, it's probably not even a jet from 1984. It's probably a jet from the 70s.
Right, which
because it
makes
was at
sense.
the Smithsonian. So can a jet from the 70s, a fighter jet, fly 6,000 miles on a tank of gas?
On a regular tank, it didn't even have drop tanks on the wings.
A regular tank of gas going full speed.
I don't know.
Because they had to get there like that. They couldn't mess around.
So anyway, that's what we need to find out. We need somebody to help us research that.
So there's that question. And then we have Maxwell Lord, the villain. Maxwell Lord in the comics is a rich dude. I was actually talking to Bart Sears about it, who drew Justice League Europe, and he drew Maxwell Lord, if he can remember Max's origin in the comics, because I don't. As far as I knew, he was just a rich dude that funded some Justice League stuff back then. So he's a rich dude in this, in oil, but he's basically just trying to almost scam money because his oil fields are all bust. So he's just trying to hold on long enough to get this artifact that grants these wishes. And he, he basically donates money to the Smithsonian, and by doing that, he's allowed backdoor access, and that's where he meets Kristen, and he gets the artifact, and he basically takes it from her, and he wishes to be the artifact. So the whole thing basically turns to dust, and he absorbs it, so now he can grant wishes, which is just like
so the basic premise of this is like there's been many other movies and books, comics, novels and stuff written. It's be careful what you wish for.
Right.
Or every time you wish something, there's always strings attached.
Right.
Or something to that effect. So this was a take. It's always a difficult thing to make a movie on because there's so many aspects to consider.
Right.
And the premise, it just fell apart. All he did was kept wishing, but then I could, if I grant your wish, then I get to take something from you.
Right.
And it evolved into chaos so quickly because it became one and one and one, and then it's all dealing with particles. I have to reach people with particles so I can touch everybody in the world.
Yeah, which was just so weird, just through satellite.
And there was so, like I said,
and not only that, but in 1984, right? 1984, when it took place, he wants to reach everybody with the satellite and stuff they made up.
Right. Based off the SDI, the Star Wars initiative.
Right. But in 1984, he's basically just reaching people through what? TV.
Right.
I don't know if radio would work with just his voice, but let's say TV and radio, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's still very limited. Now, if it was present day, everybody with their smartphone walking around, he literally would hit almost every adult in the world, because it'd be like, Zoop, what's this?
Right.
You know what I mean? But back then, if you're not in front of a TV, you're not hitting everybody.
Right.
So
it was to me just really spotty writing. Now, this really brings up one point, is we talked about how she developed her powers even through the movie. She learned how to fly.
Right.
She learned how to jump. She learned how to do like Spider-Man.
Well, not how to jump. She could jump.
She actually could grab the clouds with it and pull herself out. She hooked onto lightning and pulled herself. So I mean, it was interesting how she materialized and her powers grew throughout the movie.
Well, and the thing is, it's only the second movie, so you don't even know it's her fourth outing. Yeah, because there was Batman versus Superman. She was introduced.
Yeah.
Then Justice League. Then Wonder Woman. Then this one. So this is her fourth outing. So the fact that an issue is, let's make her lasso be able to do all this stuff. Which even in Justice League, I mean, she was wrapping that thing around not Doomsday, but in Batman and Superman, she was wrapping that thing around Doomsday.
Yeah.
So the lasso thing, maybe because we didn't see it as much, with the lightning and the clouds and stuff, I wasn't keyed in on why that thing can really stretch.
Right.
That doesn't bother me.
Right.
I love the fact they made her so she can fly now. That little speech that when they were in the jet where Trevor's like, oh, flying's easy. You just basically blah, blah, blah. And so when she leaps and then she starts clearing her mind, I like the fact that she can fly. I don't have an issue with that. Grabbing clouds and stuff.
One of the other things that I need to touch on, the beginning of which we don't even have a clip for, the beginning is, again, a throwback to when she's a kid and she's in one of these races to become the best warrior.
Oh, right.
And it was a cool, and it was the same little girl from the first movie that we had just watched. And she plays her really well, and it was a cute little scene. And she cheated basically in order to get into the front. She gets pulled off, and you can't win this way because you can't go through life being a cheater. You got to win by working at it. And it was like a cool little, it was a little bit of knowledge, and it was like, oh, this is going to really come into play throughout this movie.
Right.
And it really doesn't.
No.
And again, so there's this really cool expositional setup. They make a reference to it at the end, but it doesn't build up to anything. It looked like a really good piece of foreshadowing that just falls flat.
Well, and I think the only time it maybe came up, because you can't win by cheating, is when she had to renounce her wish,
Right.
And she realized maybe somehow by keeping Steve here, I'm cheating. But
Well,
that doesn't
she
even make
makes
sense
the
because she
comment
has to.
to Cheetah, who then like whatever, and she goes, and what about you? And that's when Diana sat there and looked. But it really didn't go. So let's just talk a little bit about
Talk about Cheetah. Now, from the design aspect, I didn't mind it because I think a lot of it, like this scene, this shot, for instance, I'm assuming it was all practical effects with the costume that Kristen was wearing, which would make sense. I mean, obviously with the jumping around and fighting, that was all CG. But when she was doing stuff like this, I'm going, that was practical effects. I thought it looked good.
Yeah, I thought she looked fine.
Yeah.
I mean, when they did the close-up of her face,
Yeah.
I thought that was fine when she was just standing there because it wasn't just all CG. I thought it looked fine. And then we get to see when the issue that I have is, and I think you and I briefly talked about it, is Kristen Wiig in that previous scene. She's sitting there and she's starting to look all alpha and stuff, but she hasn't metamorphosed. Right. And all of a sudden she shows up and this is what we get. And we're like, oh, that looks cool. But what happened?
Another thing too is, and you brought this up when we were talking before, she got 2 wishes. Because when she was in the helicopter or whatever with Maxwell Lord, he's like, well, what do you want to be? Or
she already wished to be like Diana.
She already wished to be like Diana. And then obviously you don't hear the next wish to be like the alpha predator or whatever, which turned her into this. But how does she get 2 wishes when everybody got 1? And then, like you said, at the base where Maxwell Lord is broadcasting from, she goes to slink off. And I've got to think on the cutting room floor, there's got to be an in-between shot of her changing. And they just cut it for time. Because it is a 2.5-hour movie. Right. Which is about a half hour too long.
Which is already too long. Exactly what I was going to say.
But the funny thing is, I'm not really quite sure. I'd have to go back and watch it to see what I would cut out.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. And
so there needed to be a scene of her even looking at her hands like, what's happening? And it would have been cool, too, if it was even that and even kind of painful.
Yeah.
Like she's paying a price for change. Like I don't think when she became the cheetah, she thought to herself, oh my God, look at me. I'm a Catwoman now. I paid this price because I'm not human anymore. She loved it. So it would have been cool if the transformation was painful, like when the Hulk, when Bruce Banner changes.
Yes.
That would have been so cool.
She shows up and then we get to see Diana in her armor. And the armor is really cool.
The armor's just.
I thought the armor looked great. I'm sure you've seen it in.
This is like right out of Kingdom Come, right?
Yeah.
Alex Ross.
Yep. And I think it looked great. I did think she did enough with it.
The backstory with the armor, I thought was great.
Yes.
I thought that Asteria, and fighting off all the men and how the wings collapse around her. I thought that backstory was awesome.
Yes.
But the armor is so strong to fight off all those dudes when Asteria was wearing it. But Cheetah is so powerful. She's just like, because Diana did the same thing. She kind of curled up into the wings as a shield, and Cheetah's just like rip.
Yeah, and you see it bending, rip, pull off. You're missing
now
chunks.
It could be because the men Asteria was fighting were just men.
Right.
So
I know.
Standard men.
But and now the fight scene, it winds up being, because it looked great, but it was very, very bad CGI during the fight scene. Matter of fact, it's some of the worst CGI that I have seen in a long time, especially in a high budget movie.
Yeah.
And that fight scene was a huge disappointment.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say overall, Cheetah wound up being an okay villain in the standpoint that it gave her a physical villain to fight against. Maxwell, really, he was a villain, but there wasn't much of villainy to him.
I mean, besides the fact he had the power besides the fact he had the power to grant the wishes, you could punch him and knock him out.
Yeah.
I think, so if you've never watched before or listened before, favorite DC character, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, John Stewart, Kyle Rayner. I love Green Lantern. So the Green Lantern movie from 9 years ago, Love Ryan Reynolds. Yes, the movie is kind of bad. Kind of bad. Shut up. But I'm a Green Lantern fan, so I will watch that repeatedly. But the same critique I have with that, going, Parallax. Why is he the villain when it should be Sinestro? What?
Yeah.
Was just mind-boggling, and that's what I have with this. It's like Maxwell Lord is the main villain. Why?
Yeah.
Now literally, if Maxwell Lord wasn't even in the movie and it was just Cheetah as the villain, and they came up, then I'm not a huge Wonder Woman comic book fan, so I don't know Cheetah's actual origin in the comics. But I would imagine that they could have done something with her origin in the comics to have it make sense.
Yeah.
With, so she could have been the sole villain.
She would have made a better villain if instead of even bringing Maxwell Lord into it, it was just the stone, and that would have been the entire focal point of the wishes. And
yeah, that could have
got it.
Right.
And then Barbara Minerva, because that's who her real name is, if she would have walked in and granted that and kept developing powers and then decided she wanted to dethrone, whatever. The storylines that they took on this were totally wrong.
So Barbara Minerva could have made the wish on the wishing stone, right? To be like Diana. So then the first half or whatever, she became powerful, right?
Yeah.
And instead of fighting Diana, she's trying to take the spotlight from her. So she's trying to do good, but because she's new at it, she's actually effing stuff up.
Yeah.
And people in the news is all like, who's this idiot screwing things up? Look at this explosion she caused. Look at this, blah, blah, blah. She's trying saving the bank or whatever. And then since she's getting all the bad press, she wishes again, turns into the Cheetah, is like, screw this, I'll be bad. And then boom. So it was just like, let's plug in all this stuff. CGC score.
Yeah. Especially after just watching the first one. The first Wonder Woman was great, and then immediately follow up with this. I actually said when I was done, even my wife's like, wow, we don't have to buy this DC movie. And I'm like, nope, never will probably ever watch this again. It was that bad. I am giving it a 3.0.
Is that higher than Green Lantern?
No.
Yeah.
It's probably right in the same ballpark. Because Green Lantern, for those of you who didn't know,
he doesn't want to make.
I love the first half of Green Lantern. The origin was fantastic. Once he gets the suit, it became a 0.5 piece of garbage that I wanted nothing to do.
Good Lord, man!
Hated the second half. This 3.0 across the board. It had its cute moments, and there were some funny things. It was just too much of a 1980s spoof. And there were parts of that I liked about it, but it was over the top on so many things. Pedro Pascal was over the top on his entire performance. And it's not that, again, they didn't perform it wrong. This was based on the writing. This was crap writing.
Well, it's directing too. It's the director going, no, I want you to heighten this as the actor, or take it down some.
And then immediately saying we're greenlighting a 3 because this one is so good. Yeah.
Look, I know it's COVID and all that, and it made $16 million at the box office, which, because it was released HBO Max as well, you really can't get a legit box office.
Yeah.
So who knows what it would have done. So I'm not even going to, 16 million, whatever. It's obviously good during these times.
CGC score?
CGC score for me is 4.5.
Yeah, I figured you liked it better.
I did. I would watch it again because I have the fast forward function, so I can get through stuff I don't want to see. So I'll go 4.5 on it.
Maybe we get a Zack Snyder cut.
Damn. Move over, Patty. Zach's coming in to save it. Or Josh Whedon cut for that matter.
I know.
So that's what I'm going with. 4.5. He's 3.0. 3.0, man.
Yeah, I'll never watch it again. And that pains me to say because I own the first Wonder Woman and I would watch that over and over.
Yeah.
Now, next week, we knew that we were going to devote a lot of time to Wonder Woman this week. And we are going to review Fat Man.
Yeah, we talked about it. We did watch it.
We did. And we just don't have enough time for this episode. But We will give our review on it. And next week, we're doing a road trip, so we're going to be we're heading down to Columbia, South Carolina to visit some comic shops.
Yep. So we're going to visit some comic shops, maybe spend a little, I don't know about you, but my mom likes to give me money for Christmas now, so I have Christmas money to spend.
Yep. And tell your mom she can send me some Christmas money so then I can also go shopping.
I'll do that. Don't expect that to arrive anytime soon. Yep. So until next time, remember, YouTube, DNA Show on Facebook. Hit on YouTube the like, subscribe, share button. Hit that little bell down at the right-hand corner for notifications so you know when we go live. And please spread the word about the Dennis and Andy Show. We want to get our subscribers up there, and we'll talk to you next week.
We'll see you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.